There is meaning in all of this. I can believe this. But you see, belief in Judaism comes from doing, acting, reaching out, looking, seeing, hearing, experiencing the world. Being a Jew, the word Jew is more of a verb than a noun. Being a Jew is about being active. In the Parsha this week, in the Torah portion this week, this is affirmed after Abraham asks all of his questions of God. There's a very painful section of Torah, because Abraham goes and circumcises himself. To me, that's the epitome of acting, of doing. But it creates a connection. And look, we still do it when our little boys are 8 days old. It's an action that helps us, not necessarily in the time of doing it, especially for the moms and dads who have been through it, but it's a way of affirming our belief. Now, I mentioned earlier that the Torah portion talks a lot about this relationship that we're in with God. God, the promise of the land, the promise of children, the promise of a nation, all of this is part of what's called the covenant. A covenant is a two-way street. God makes promises, God gives us things, and in turn, we respond, we act, we do things to connect ourselves to God. In the Torah portion, Abraham was able to act by sacrificing, the circumcision, by seeing the stars, by listening to God. Thank goodness for us, the idea of a covenantal relationship, a relationship with God, is something that has evolved. We don't need to connect with God by bringing goats and bulls into the sanctuary and offering them up as a sacrifice anymore. But we interact with God, we interact with Judaism, with our tradition, with our heritage, through prayer, through study, through quiet contemplation, through tzedakah, through mitzvot and good deeds, through observing Shabbat one way or another. All of these things help us on our run, on our journey as Jews, to reaffirm the connection, our relationship to God, the covenant, especially when we lose belief, when we question the believing. And Judaism, from this Torah portion, says that there will be days when we're going to be like Abraham. When we're going to wake up and say, God, none of this makes sense. I don't know if I can believe this. I don't know if all of this stuff that my religion teaches me, is it what I should be following? That's what the Torah portion is saying. We have that. We still are very much like Abraham. You cannot simply be a Jew by saying, I believe. If you do, what do you believe in? That's a big question. What does a Jew believe in? Judaism is more about interacting with God, doing. Interaction is what allows you to discover that, in fact, there is a God out there. Traditionally speaking, a Jew follows what we call halakha, Jewish law. Every aspect of a traditional Jew's life is dictated by halakha, by law. And it ensures that virtually every single action, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, are within the framework of Judaism, and therefore they're holy. And the actions, the Jewish actions, allow you to come closer to God. The simple act that a Jew is supposed to say 100 blessings from the moment they wake up to the minute they go to bed is a way of connecting you to God. And at those moments when you feel that maybe God isn't there, you're obligated to say a blessing that says, thank you, God, for bringing joy into my life. But boom, God's back. And it makes you think about it. It makes you connect. It's harder for us liberal Jews because we have moved past halakha, past the idea of Jewish law, and therefore we're not obligated to pray, to light candles, to keep any of the Jewish dietary laws, to observe Shabbat, to observe the holidays. So a liberal Jew doesn't necessarily have to act in any way. We don't have to do anything to consider ourselves Jewish. We just say we're Jewish. We don't have to believe anything. In fact, many Jews, maybe some of us here, some people that we know, they say, well, I don't believe in anything. I'm Jewish. Because it's easy when you don't have the constant reminder to stop believing in God, in the traditions, in the ritual. Judaism, you see, is in many ways much more practical than our Christian brothers and sisters. Because Christianity says you believe. No choice, you believe. Judaism says there are going to be days when we don't believe. And those are the times when the acting and the doing and the looking at the world and trying to find the reminders and the reinforcements become really important. Those are the times when we really have to give ourselves Shabbat, a day of rest, time to reflect. Those are the times that we have to give thanks for little simple miracles or joys in our life, or things as great as the thing that took place in Chile this week. Those are the times that more than ever, the harder times, the times when we question, that we need to come like we do tonight, to gather together and sing and pray and learn together. Those are the times when we need to, if we have the courage to dive into it, to study the Torah. Even to do simple things like light candles. Those are all things that keep us in the covenant. Those are all ways of doing Jewish. See, Judaism needs to be infused into our lives. This keeps it alive for us. There's a very interesting thing that happens in the Torah portion. Abraham is not known as Abraham at the beginning of this portion. And Sarah is not known as Sarah at the beginning of this portion. Abraham is known as Avram, and Sarah is Sarai. Once they start engaging with God, they take a letter of God's name, a Hebrew letter, the letter He, and put it into their names. So Avram becomes Avraham, and Sarai becomes Sarah, the He sound. Symbolizing that their life, a life during which they questioned their belief, their life is now infused with God. When we do Jewish, we in essence put God into our essence, put God into our names. We infuse God into our lives. Prayers, good deeds, mitzvot, celebrations, all of these things allow us to incorporate God and Torah and values into our lives and give us the ability to reconnect and reaffirm our belief, because all of us are on that same run that I was on this afternoon. Days that we will question whether or not we can finish it. But Judaism says, yes, those days are there, and that's okay. And that's why there's a system out there to keep us going, the spiritual Gatorade that allows us to finish the race. And when we finish, it's amazing, and it's a celebration. So give yourself Shabbat, give yourself a day of rest, a day of reflection, and keep running, keep moving forward, keep traveling, and try to keep believing, but when you question it, know that that's what Jews do. We're allowed to question and challenge ourselves. Shabbat Shalom.